Alright guys, we getting back to the Red Hulk, bro. When we last left off, that man Riker was out here stretching that brother out. But when the sister Wild Streak found out how bad Captain Riker actually was, and the fact that he was working in league with Dr. Doom, she was like, alright, yeah, bro, my bad about this. I'm gonna get you up out of here. But Captain Riker not going for that. He pull up on them, same Hulk buster that melted Red Hulk earlier in the story. But General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross ain't going for none of that. He jumps out that helicopter talking about some no sir. You ain't catching me slipping again. This man starts running straight for the Washington Monument and shoulder checks that thing, causing the whole thing to come crashing down into the ground. But he not done, cause he then proceeds to grab this thing, hoist it in the air, and says, "All right, bring it the fuck on, Riker." And with the fury only a Hulk could muster, this brother launches this thing. And Riker's just like, oh, come on, man. Right before that giant Hulk buster gets penetrated, causing this thing to come crashing down into the ground. Now here's the thing. Red Hulk and team was able to get away from Riker and his people in this situation. But Riker, very, very diligent man. He coming for him, and he later catches up with them as he has been able to make his little army of Red Hulks, even though there's a lot left to be desired here. And so when Ross pull up and see all this hoo-ha, he don't waste no time. He just shoot that man dead in his chest. And he tells him, I'ma need you to release them hostages, brother. But Riker, he not trying to hit none of that. He start wolfing out. But Ross tells him, alright, bruh, if your ass want to keep your ass intact, you best to get your ass on up out of here before I have to show you what time it is. But no, Riker not hearing none of that, so he full on transforms. And Red? Well, Red is always down for the smoke, so he jumps in there, ready to tear this thing in half. And they start clashing at each other, sending shockwaves flying everywhere. And it's then that the Warwolf starts to use his massive claws to tear chunks of flesh out of the Red Hulk. But that man heals really quick, and he runs up and punches Warwolf in the face. And Warwolf tries to grab onto his arm and bite down, but Red ain't hearing none of that as he goes to pimp slap this dude while he knocks several teeth out of his mouth. See, the thing is, when this dude was facing off against Ross and Ross couldn't turn into the Red Hulk, it was a whole one-sided ass whooping. Dude was putting the paws on Ross. But now that Ross has been able to transform, oh my God, when I tell y'all the tables have shifted and this dude did not know what he was dealing with, this is the true definition of ain't no fun when the rabbits got the gun. Cause the very next time that the Warwolf tried to claw at Ross, Ross grabbed that dude's arm and ripped it out of its socket. But he was not done, because then he grabs this man by his jaws and proceeds to separate that boy. And where you would think ripping somebody's jaws off their face would be enough for the win, well, General Ross is very petty. You see, Ross remembers when this man bear hugged him into unconsciousness, and he feels like it's his obligation to return the favor. So he yokes this dude up and starts to squeeze the life out of him. And when I tell y'all the life, straight up broke that man's rib cage and spine. Swear on everything, this dog is not going to heaven. And Ross was just like, oh yeah, look at you. You was popping out that good shit a second ago until you got your ribs squeezed out your chest. And all the other little random Hulk things was like, yeah, nah, bruh. We not trying to deal with none of that. You can have your homies. Yeah, kid you not, that's basically the explanation given here. But with all that nonsense going on, with everything happening under one world under Doom, the fact that America has basically bent the knee to Dr. Doom, well, this dude feels like a message needs to be sent. So he looks at Wild Streak and he says, hey, I need you to hand me that thing. And she tells him, listen, big dog, I can respect the passion, but if you do this, you're not beating Doom, you making the same mistake he did. Ross essentially tells her, hey man, I'm not trying to hear that. hand that over. Ross think he gonna kidnap and disrespect me for months at a time? Okay. And so that's when she reaches in her bag and grabs out an American flag. And this brother is basically just thinking to himself like, I mean, what shows more power than me being able to walk into the ruler of Latveria's home and putting my flag on his doorstep? And they all basically trying to tell her like, brother, this is gonna cause an international incident. Like, you shouldn't do this. But Ross thinking to himself, man, I don't give a damn about none of that. Ross thought he was gonna put his flag on the whole world. Okay, everybody out here wanna play games? Cool. Better get your watches, you know what? Cause by the time I'm through, every single person in this country is gonna find out what time it is. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is a story for another time. As for now, Excelsior War Corps. I'm a Marshall T. I'll catch y'all later.